Hi guys, welcome here. Today we are here for remembering about some incidents that occurred long years ago that led some contribution in our independence. Here, in this video we will talk about the role of tribal uprisings in our freedom struggle. Heading with introduction. So, the role of tribal uprisings in India's freedom struggle is a pivotal but often overlooked aspect of our nation's history. While the struggle for independence against British colonial rule is well documented, the contributions and sacrifices made by tribal communities are not as widely known. This presentation aims to shed light on the significant role played by these indigenous communities in the fight for India's freedom, highlighting their resilience, courage, and commitment to the cause. Many of the various tribal groups in India revolted against the forceful and devastating intrusions into their life and region by the British. The tribals had been living peacefully and in harmony with nature for hundreds of years in their own forests prior to the arrival of the colonial powers. These uprisings were characterized by some features. Some of them were resistance against exploitation, defensive in nature, leadership, armed resistance. There were much more. Overall, tribal uprisings were pivotal moments in India's history, reflecting the determination of tribal communities to protect their rights, culture, and land while contributing to the larger struggle for India's independence from colonial rule. What were the causes of these uprisings? So, let's see. Tribal uprisings in India were triggered by a complex interplay of socio-economic and political factors. Some of the key factors that led to these uprisings were land alienation, forest policies, exploitative revenue systems, loss of autonomy, social discrimination, etc. These socio-economic and political factors, combined with the historical and cultural context of each tribal region, contributed to the eruption of tribal uprisings across India. Let's move further with the Santhal Rebellion. The Santhal Rebellion of 1855–56, also known as the Santhal Hul, was one of the earliest and most significant tribal uprisings against British colonial rule in India. This rebellion took place primarily in the Santhal Parganas region of present-day Jharkhand, Bihar, and West Bengal. Here's an overview of the Santhal Rebellion. Causes. Land dispossession. The primary trigger for the Santhal Rebellion was the widespread land dispossession of the Santhal tribe. British colonial authorities and moneylenders had forcibly taken over their traditional lands, leaving them landless and impoverished. Heavy taxation. The Santhals were subjected to exorbitant taxes and rent demands, which pushed them into debt and poverty. The colonial revenue system imposed unfamiliar financial burdens on the tribal communities. Key figures. Sidho and Kanho Murmu, two Santhal brothers, Sidho and Kanho Murmu, emerged as prominent leaders of the rebellion. They were instrumental in organizing and leading the Santhal forces. Now, let's see with the timeline of the rebellion. The rebellion began in June 1855 with the Santhal community uniting under the leadership of Sidho and Kanho Murmu. The Santhals attacked symbols of colonial authority, including police stations and government offices. The rebels used guerrilla warfare tactics, taking advantage of their knowledge of the terrain to evade British forces. The rebellion lasted for several months, with the Santhals capturing significant portions of the Santhal Parganas. British response. The British responded with force, deploying troops to suppress the rebellion. The conflict escalated into a full-scale war, leading to heavy casualties on both sides. British forces eventually managed to suppress the rebellion by the end of 1856. Outcomes. The Santhal rebellion was eventually crushed by the British, but it left a lasting impact on the tribal resistance movement in India. The British recognized the need to address some of the grievances of the Santhals, and certain land reforms were introduced to protect tribal land rights. Legacy. The Santhal Rebellion is remembered as a significant event in the history of tribal uprisings in India, symbolizing the determination of tribal communities to resist exploitation and oppression. The rebellion also contributed to the broader understanding of tribal issues and the need for reforms in colonial policies. The Santhal Rebellion of 1855–56 played a pivotal role in shaping the trajectory of tribal movements in India and remains an important chapter in the country's fight for independence from British colonial rule. Let's move ahead. Tribal communities played a crucial role in the 1857 Indian Rebellion against British colonial rule. They provided leadership, used guerrilla tactics, and protected rebel leaders. They also assisted with logistics, offered moral support, and participated in battles. This diverse involvement showcased unity against oppression, leaving a lasting impact on the Indian freedom struggle. Impact on the revolt. The involvement of tribal communities added diversity and depth to the 1857 revolt. It showcased the unity of purpose among different sections of Indian society against British oppression. While the rebellion ultimately faced defeat, the contributions of tribal communities left a lasting impact on the Indian freedom struggle. It inspired future generations to continue the fight for independence. It's important to note that the level of tribal participation and the nature of their involvement varied across regions, depending on local circumstances and leadership. Nevertheless, their participation in the 1857 revolt remains a testament to the broad-based resistance against British colonial rule and the collective struggle for India's freedom. Now there is their role in Quit India movement. Tribal communities also played a significant role in the Quit India movement of 1942. They actively participated in protests, strikes, and civil disobedience campaigns against British rule. Their involvement demonstrated a united front with non-tribal freedom fighters, contributing to the momentum of the movement. Tribal communities' participation in the Quit India movement underscored their commitment to India's independence and their desire for self-rule and autonomy. Now, in the end, we concluded that the tribal uprisings in India's freedom struggle played a significant role by highlighting the resilience and determination of indigenous communities. These uprisings, driven by socio-economic injustices, land dispossession, and cultural suppression, showcased the tribe's unity and leadership. They added diversity to the struggle, offering guerrilla warfare tactics, logistical support, and symbolic resistance. Their participation symbolized the broader Indian fight for independence and left a lasting impact on policies related to tribal rights and cultural preservation in modern India. This served as a reminder that the struggle for freedom was not confined to a single segment of society but was a collective effort representing the diversity of India. So, that's all for now. Thanks for watching it. Hope you gained some knowledge from this.